So one of the most prominent proponents of the Warren Report is a gentleman by the name of Gerald Posner. Now, Gerald Posner wrote a book called Case Closed. And if you watch TV, Gerald Posner is always on TV saying that there was no conspiracy to kill JFK and that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. So Gerald Posner is a very interesting character. He got his start in journalism writing about a German Nazi doctor by the name of Joseph Mengele. And he started looking like he was actually doing some real investigation, but his book left out a lot of important things about Mengele, including the fact that he was helped by the CIC, which was one of the intelligence agencies before the Central Intelligence Agency, to escape to South America, where he was. And that while in South America, he was alleged in being one of these kind of most notorious drug lords. So he started off kind of almost like O'Reilly. It seemed like he was really investigating Mengele and the American government's relationship to Mengele. But by the time he writes his book, it was kind of, there was nothing about the American government's relationship to Mengele, nothing really about Mengele's relationship to drug trafficking. And we're going to do a deep dive into Posner and Mengele and other people like Klaus Barbie, who's also kind of drug dealer. But so this is the guy, though. This is the guy who the mainstream media points to as the debunker, as the guy who proves all the JFK assassination wrong. And also, he is also known as a serial plagiarist. So plagiarist is kind of a cardinal sin in journalism. It's a combination of lying, cheating, and stealing. You're stealing someone's work, you're lying about it because you're trying to cheat the game. So he's been accused of he's admitted to plagiarism, not just being accused of plagiarism. He had resigned from the Daily Beast, where he was the lead investigator, and because of all the plagiarism in the Daily Beast. And also his book, Miami Babylon, the Miami New Times found a lot of plagiarism in it. And then another professor found a lot of plagiarism in his books on 9/11 and Saudi Arabia. So Posner is a very interesting character. After he got fired from the Daily Beast, he took a very interesting job. Now, so while he's at the Daily Beast, right, he investigates a man by the name of Ahmad Wali Karzai. Now, Ahmad Wali Karzai was the brother of Ahmed Karzai, the president of Afghanistan, and also an alleged warlord. So initially, we have Gerald Posner going on Russia Today as a journalist investigating Ahmad Wali Karzai. So let's watch Gerald Posner, the journalist, talk about his investigation into Ahmad Wali Karzai.
First of all, just unfettered access for you with the Karzai brothers.
Right. I mean, I've been dealing with them now for about a month, and originally it was because I was doing a story into whether one of them, Ahmed Karzai, who's one of the great warlords in the southern part of the country, was in fact the Pablo Escobar of Afghanistan. There are rumors for years now that he'd been heavily involved in heroin trafficking, and that's what I went after. I went after him, approached him on that, dealt with him. He denied it, of course. He said, there's no firm accusations, no firm evidence here of anything. Talked to the U.S. ambassador and others. But then I also talked to his brother Mahmoud, who's become, in a few years since his brother Hamid became president, one of the wealthiest people in a very poor country, around all the swirling allegations of corruption and backdoor dealing. So I've been dealing with these two very aggressive brothers for a while. And then today, the New York Times broke the story that Ahmed, the supposed drug dealer, was also a CIA asset for the past 8 years. So I was back on the phone with them again, both of them adamantly denying it, attacking the Times vehemently.
Absolutely. Now, I did read the article by the New York Times today, and it lays a pretty convincing case, at least in my opinion, about this tie between the CIA and Ahmed Wali Karzai. And you're saying that Mr. Karzai is vehemently opposing this. I'm kind of reading his reasoning to it, too, and it doesn't sound like it doesn't really hold as much water as maybe the article. I mean, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. As a matter of fact, James Risen's a well-respected foreign journalist. The piece that he wrote in the New York Times is, although it has a lot of anonymous sources, it's redundant sourcing. It has specifics in there. It talks about the Kandahar Strike Force and Special Forces renting property from Ahmed Karzai. And he denies it in a broad brush. He says it's false. It's the work of my enemies. The New York Times has a vendetta. Risen has a vendetta against us, and this is a conspiracy. He says one thing that I do believe, which is this is politically timed. I mean, few things happen in international politics with intelligence agencies leaking information to a major newspaper right before the presidential runoff in a country that is as crucial to unity right now as Afghanistan without political motivation being behind it. That I agree with. But I don't buy his denials. The one thing I do think that the CIA does, which they do very well, and I've dealt with intelligence, communities on my work on 9/11. I did it with my book on the Saudis, which was out 4 years ago. They give the people that they pay, like a Karzai brother, plausible deniability. And that means that when they rent the property from him to put their special forces on them, it doesn't come with a check that says CIA from Langley, Virginia. Right. It comes from a front company. When they deal with him on other things and pay him for information for tribal leaders and other things, they aren't paying him from CIA. It's always from another front company or a contractor that's doing work for the military. So he can probably swear under oath that he's never been paid by the CIA and say it with a straight face. But everybody does it with a wink and a nod.
Right. What you're saying is you have to get through several levels to get to the actual absolute truth of this whole situation. This situation, maybe several other situations involving the CIA. But this also poses quite the entanglement when it comes to the U.S.'s relationship with Afghanistan, especially with what's going on between the two countries right now.
No question about it. You hit a key point. I mean, we're talking about two different things happening. One is President Obama is now confronting the decision of whether to commit additional American troops to Afghanistan. In the wake of all of this are questions about fraud in the last election in which the Karzai brothers' brother, Hamid, won the presidential election among counts of fraud, including the fact that Ahmed Karzai, accused as a CIA asset today, is one of those who was also accused of having been involved in some of the ballot fraud, having produced tens of thousands of ballots that were phantom ballots. So this creates a political problem for President Obama. In addition, we're talking about Afghanistan, the country that produces 93% of the world's opium, in which American soldiers are starting to show a small uptick on addiction numbers for heroin. And you have the fact that one of the president's brothers is being accused of being involved in the opium trade and working for the CIA. Boy, I think it's a political time bomb for the Karzais.
Absolutely.
All right, now it's very interesting listening to Gerald Posner talk about Ahmad Wali Karzai, who he seems to admit is the Pablo Escobar of Afghanistan, and admits that this guy is also being involved in voter fraud and one of the richest men in Afghanistan. So after kind of taking that New York Times report at face value, he said he didn't disagree with it. After he gets fired from the Daily Beast because of multiple examples of plagiarism, he becomes the lawyer for Ahmad Wali Karzai, the person who he just called the Pablo Escobar of Afghanistan. And here's how he writes in his letter. To the editor, I represent Ahmad Wali Karzai, the chief of Kandahar Provincial Council and President Hamid Karzai's younger brother. In your August 13th editorial, The State of War, you state, unprecedented American officials to assert the younger Mr. Karzai is involved in the opium trade and other corrupt enterprises, as well as being on the CIA's payroll. The editorial notes that Washington says has nothing that will stand in court. In conversations with the United States and Afghan officials, I have been told that President Karzai has challenged 2 United States ambassadors to bring any evidence about possible opium involvement by his brother Ahmad Wali personally to him, and they neither did so. So Gerald Posner went from being a journalist investigating the Pablo Escobar of Afghanistan to a lawyer defending the Pablo Escobar of Afghanistan. And this is the same guy who is the definitive word on the assassination of the JFK. Now he's working with alleged CIA agents who are involved in the opium trade as their lawyer. So what is Gerald Posner's motivation? Where is he coming from? Who are his sources? Is he legitimate? He's a plagiarist. Like who else is he plagiarizing from? Very interesting guy. I don't know. It's hard to take him at any face value. He's also been a lawyer for Victor Bout, who's the Merchant of Death, Lord of War in the Nicolas Cage movie, notorious arms dealer, and other Afghani warlords. So when he's not debunking the JFK assassination or debunking the MLK assassination, he's working as a lawyer for people who are allegedly CIA assets and heroin dealers. Very interesting guy. So we have Gerald Posner and Bill O'Reilly as the two kind of critics of the Warren Report and the anti-conspiracy theorists. So I think we got to really get rid of this term, because I think what we have here is propagandists calling real journalists and real historians conspiracy theorists. Now, if we go back to the document I showed, right? Now, the reason they do this is because they work for the same people who conspired to kill the president and continue to conspire to deal drugs and continue to conspire to overthrow governments. So now, in order to defend themselves, they want to make it seem like everyone who's criticizing them or everyone who's onto them is crazy. So they are conspiracy theorists. And that's where the term comes from.
Mankind. Huh? Yeah. Mankind. Mankind. Cactus Jack do love mankind. Cactus Jack do love. Cactus Jack. Mankind. Yo, check. Fast or slow. I heard caps exploding, so his cap explode. It got drastic, he had to go. Yeah. Reserve practice is fractional, he had to know. You don't talk about the Fed, boy. You don't talk about the Fed. I catch shots from the grassy knoll. Fast or slow, I heard caps exploding, so his cap explode. It got drastic, he had to go. Yeah, reserve practice is fractional. He had to know. You don't talk about the Fed, boy. A cat shots from inside your car or the grassy knoll.
Headshots in the headlines. Fed bank shot clock showing Fed time. That's 54 days for a year served. The Federal Reserve, that's a clear nerve. Word. Better watch what you say or get chased with a shot to the face. Bottles up. Automatic super soakers, you ain't got a pump. Machine guns with a lot of funk. Funkadelic, Commodore, brick, house, store credit. Atomic doggy style war fetish, I get it. Trying to get the best bang for your buck. Death Squad, gang, get it up. Raw dogs, Foxhound badge, never soft core. Solid snake on all fours. This is Abraham Lincoln, top hat on the 4th floor. Fitzgerald in the Continental 4-door. Martin on the balcony, Malcolm X, fruit of Islam, armed cavalry, reverse alchemy. Feds turn gold to shit. Take your hand out my pocket, you should know not to hold my. It's too big for your britches. Cachet's way too big for the glitches. So if a motherfucker has to go, there's one question that I have to know.
Fast or slow. I heard caps exploding, so his cap explode. It got drastic, he had to go. Yeah. Reserve practice is fractional, he had to know. You don't talk about the Fed, boy. You don't talk about the Fed. I catch shots from the grassy knoll. Fast or slow, I heard caps exploding, so his cap explode. It got drastic, he had to go. Yeah, reserve practice is fractional. He had to know. You don't talk about the Fed, boy. A cat shot inside your car. You gotta cash the blow. You can cop an assassin quick. It's that fast, you know. To have someone come crack your skull and let you have some more. Tater tots for the chicken, spraying shots, stay irrational. Young strapped in, bout that action, it's savage, yo. Imagine having a spaz and grab a ski mask for dough. Grab a ratchet, not even your last result. Imagine having to always tell the point guard to pass the ball. On the legs latching on, writing raps to the crack of dawn. Crack your dome. Fast or slow.